And welcome everyone to Magic Insiders. Dante Marcatelli, Jake Chapman here with you. The Orlando Magic in action last night, starting a 3-game road trip as they fall to the Toronto Raptors by a score of 107-106. And it was a tough one last night. The Magic led at one point by 21. They had a double-digit lead going into the fourth quarter, but unfortunately too much Jamal Shead, which you don't typically hear, but too much Jamal Shead, too much Brandon Ingram. And the Orlando Magic are unable to overcome the Toronto Raptors last night. And the Magic are led despite Paolo Banchero's triple-double. He goes for 23 points, 15 rebounds, 10 assists. You get 27 from Anthony Black. So a couple of things to point out there, Jake. Anthony Black continues to be on a tear. I mean, it is unbelievable, superhuman what this guy is doing right now. And I think this was a huge breakout game for Paolo Banchero. We've been waiting for Paolo Banchero to have kind of a game like this. And it happened last night. Unfortunately, and this is the part Magic fans that will try to get through together, you can't lose that game last night. You can't score 12 points in the fourth quarter. It was just, you did pretty much everything wrong to not be able to pull out that basketball game. But this is kind of where we're at until you get Jalen Suggs back, until you get Franz Wagner back. You're trying to piece this whole thing together. And I think, you haven't won back-to-back games in a month, so I think that's frustrating. But eventually, you're going to get those guys back, maybe soon, and you're going to be able to go on a run here when you get those guys back. But unfortunately, until that happens, you're going to be subject to games like you had last night. Frustrating, I think, at the end of the day, Jake, and I think it's okay. I think it's okay for Magic fans, Magic players, Magic coaches to be frustrated. That's a game you can't let get away last night.
It was frustrating. I agree with everything you said, but I also think that at times we need to take a step back and I don't want to tell anybody how to think or what to say on social media in moments like that, because I understand it is very frustrating. But if you jump off the ship every time the team loses a game, then you end up like the boy who cried wolf, right? Like right. Maintain a little bit of perspective as far as the coaches go, as far as the players go, and as far as the fact that it is a long 82-game season. The Magic still have everything in front of them, and they're missing two of their best players still. And so the bottom line is, without Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, this is about a 500 team. And that can be frustrating, but that's what we're looking at right now. And it takes much better execution over the final 36 minutes than you saw last night to beat a team like Toronto in Toronto, regardless of the fact that we were rested, on 2 days rest, and they were coming off an overtime back-to-back, et cetera, et cetera. That team plays really hard. That team brings it. That team it's a really good group that I think we're going to be hanging with in the Eastern Conference coming down the stretch here. And you did what you had to do for the first 12 minutes of the game yesterday, and then you punted. Or you let go of the rope, whatever cliche you want to use. The big thing to me was rebounding. Like, that is something that,
oh my goodness, that was your game. That was your ball game.
But that was the ball game. You out-rebounded them 23-12 in the first quarter and got out-rebounded in the back half, the last three quarters, 46-29. And then the offensive boards is just inexcusable. I mean, we are a much better defensive rebounding team than you saw last night. And it was a rookie who came in and changed that game, in my opinion, or at least on the glass, and Colin Murray-Boyles. There's going to be those possessions where he gets 2 or 3 offensive boards. Okay, fine. That dude had 12 rebounds in 24 minutes last night. 7 of them were of the offensive variety. And you can't give up 18 second chance points on what was it? 18 offensive rebounds, I think, for 21 second chance points. You just can't do that.
21 offensive rebound, a season high 21 offensive rebounds, a season high for Toronto that they had 21 offensive rebounds, and a season high that we'd given up. You look at Colin. I'm glad you brought up Colin Murray-Boyles. He had 12 rebounds, as you mentioned. Everyone in the starting lineup not named Paolo Banchero combined for 13, and that can't happen. Your guards have to rebound better. That has to be done better. And Wendell has to, Goga Batadze. I mean, this is everybody. They got to look in the mirror, because this is the stretch of 6 games now where you're getting killed on the glass, and that's not Magic basketball. And you got to look yourself in the mirror, and yes, it's tough. Yes, it's hard. And a lot of times it's it's going to take that extra effort. It's going to take extra work, and you're tired. The travel's a thing. And yes, there are parts to the season that are difficult right now. But, Jamal Mosley said it, and this group has said it. We don't make excuses, and you got outworked. And to be up by 21 in the first half and to be cruising, and then to let Grady Dick, Jamal Shed, Colin Murray Boyles come in and beat you, I think is what's frustrating.
And you can understand that, and so that it's another look. I think the last couple of days have been the highs and lows of the NBA season. You see on Friday night what happens if you don't bring the energy that you need to get beat by a team that you feel like you should have beat in the Charlotte Hornets. Next night you bring it, and it takes perfect execution down the stretch to put away a team like the Denver Nuggets, but you did, and so you know that's in there. And then last night, it was the high and low all within 48 minutes of that basketball game. So you're right. Like, I think that it's another opportunity, I think, to kind of go back to the drawing board and say, okay, until Franz and Jalen come back, what do we need to do in order to close out games or in order to win tough games out on the road? And it needs to be much closer to the first 12 minutes than it was the last 36 minutes last night.
Well, Denver is right. This will be a completely different team in a couple of weeks. Go Magic. He's exactly right. Will Dawson, well, it's amazing the flexibility that you have at work or just the incredible amount of vacation time that you have. We got to know which one, but we love hearing from you, Will. And yes, early morning, good morning to you. Happy New Year to all of you Magic fans. It's going to be a fun one tomorrow. We'll play on New Year's Eve against the Indiana Pacers. We'll have a pregame show for you at 2:30 on 96.9 The Game and on FanDuel Sports Network, and then we tip off against Indiana. I think when we left Orlando, we looked at each other and said, you got to win two. You have to win two games on this trip, and you can still do that. You got to get the Indiana game. You got to get the Chicago game. Then you come back 2-1 on this road trip. But yes, this is one of a few games now that you have let go. At the end of the day, at the end of the season, if you miss top 4 by one game, or if you miss top 3 by one game, or if you miss top 7 by one game, last night's one of those games, and that part is frustrating. But hey, the game has happened. You got to move on. And I think when you look at it, the biggest thing that stood out to me from a positive side, we've been waiting for Paolo Banchero to have a game like this for several weeks, probably since he's returned, right? And he did get it in Denver. He got triple-double in Denver, and the Magic made that a close game. But he showed up with the camos last night. Did you see Paolo Banchero walk in? He had the hunting jacket. He was hunting buckets. He was hunting Raptors last night, and he did it to the tune of 23 points, 15 rebounds, 10 assists. And I thought even on the last shot, all game he was kind of getting the ball and going. And had he done that on that last shot, he might have had a lane, but 6 seconds left, you get the ball 27 feet from the basket. It's kind of hard to make something happen. Even the three that went up, it was online. I thought maybe he was going to knock it down. Tough, and he admitted, it's tough to make that shot there at the end, but he got a good look at it. I think if you're a Magic fan, you're saying, okay, now we're going to start getting back to Paolo that we know. 23 points, 15 rebounds, 10 assists.
Yeah, he was Paolo last night, and you knew it was coming. And it's not like he's been terrible since returning from the groin injury. There's another triple-double tossed in there. He's had some pretty good-looking vintage type Paolo games, but that looked like he was getting his confidence back just as far as the jumper goes. And look, man, the rebounding numbers have jumped all season long, and that is something that he did his job on the glass last night. I don't think you can necessarily look at anybody else and say that definitively. But 9 of 19. And to me, look, I mean, Dante, going into that game last night, he was shooting 22% from 3-point range. If you want to try to find exactly what's quote unquote bugging Paolo Banchero, it's just a perimeter jumper and falling. And for somebody whose game often works inside out, teams have figured that out now in year 4. And so he at times is going to have to work outside in. He's going to have to start drawing some closeouts and attacking that way. And figuring it out on the fly, and it's a lot harder to figure out on the fly when you don't have two of your best offensive players on your on the wings with you, and so and two of your best spacers as well, and so or at least one of them. And so I think like Paolo last night had an opportunity. He plays well in Toronto and against Toronto. Period. His numbers pretty good against that team, but I think he looked very comfortable offensively last night. Not last possession notwithstanding, you can understand the frustration there. That's down 1. It's clearly not the look necessarily that you were looking for. But he said after the game, there was some other stuff going on. I don't think the timing necessarily worked out. And I think Toronto had a sense, I think it was something set up at the very least for Anthony Black to kind of flash and potentially have something in front of the bucket. And it just didn't necessarily pan out. I didn't get a chance to go back and watch it over and over again, as I'm sure several fans have, and as I'm sure the coaching staff did the entire way to Indianapolis. But it is what it is. Late game execution, it can go both ways, and there have been times this season that the Magic have executed late in games and put games away. And last night, you hung in there. And you had an opportunity late, but you just came up a little bit short. And that entire 6 seconds didn't necessarily look like it went according to the script. Let's just say that.
No, it certainly didn't. And, sometimes you got to tip your hat to Toronto. I mean, you had them dead and buried. You could have kept your foot on the gas. And their bench came in and turned the game around. And I think our bench allowed them to get back into it. It was unfortunately a rough night for the second unit for the Orlando Magic. You're coming off a big game from Tristan da Silva. He didn't quite give you the same punch. Goga Bitadze, just his first game back. You lost Jonathan Isaac. He had to leave after just 29 seconds. That's a guy that would have been huge on the glass and, defensively. And you lose Desmond Bane for the last 6 minutes of that game. That was huge too. Desmond Bane had to exit with back spasms, and when he comes back in, it's for the very last play. But his spacing to not open things up there in the middle to allow Paolo to drive without having him out there on the floor, it was tough. They picked up their defense. They did full court pressure the entire second half. I mean, they made it hard to get it into our stuff. And listen, I they outworked you. They outworked you, and they got a game that you should have won.
How about Jamal Shed? Jamal Shed's job is to pressure 94 feet. I love that. I mean, kids, you want to stick in the NBA? Guard somebody 94 feet.
That's exactly right. And our job is to not let him get a career high, 19, which is what he got last night. More coming your way here on Magic Insiders when we return in a moment, including a breakdown of Anthony Black, who has been sensational. And you're starting to see reports for most improved. And if he does go to the bench, maybe 6th man of the year, he could get both. He could certainly end the conversation. Anthony Black has got as good a shot as any to win most improved. We'll talk Anthony Black when we return to Magic Insiders. But most importantly, folks, we need you back when this team comes to Orlando. We're going to play the Indiana Pacers. It's going to be Kids Day. It's a terrific atmosphere in Orlando coming up this Sunday. We'll have the broadcast for you at 2:30 right here on 96.9 The Game. But you can get your tickets at orlandomagic.com. The Magic and the Pacers. We'll be back with more Magic Insiders in your comments when we return in a moment. Welcome back, everyone, to Magic Insiders. We're presented by International Diamond Center. Dante Marchitelli, Jake Chapman here with you. The Magic fall last night to the Toronto Raptors, 107-106. Next up will be the Indiana Pacers. We'll have that for you starting at 2:30 tomorrow, New Year's Eve, right here on 96.9 The Game at 2:30 on FanDuel Sports Network. You got plans for New Year's Eve? You got a little Magic basketball, but what's your college football schedule looking like here?
Well, the Buckeyes play at 7:30, and so I'm not sure exactly how that's going to how our schedule is going to impact my ability to view that game. But I will be locked into that if at all possible. And then we're flying right after the game against Indiana to Chicago. And I do have a buddy who was in my wedding, Justin, who lives in Chicago, who you met, and his beautiful wife, Katie Beth. And they're going to a small New Year's gathering that they're going to drag me along to. So for the first time in like 7 years, I'm going to a New Year's party. And of course, it's in Chicago with a whole bunch of people that I don't know, but I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, that's good. That'll be fun. That'll be awesome. Does this bring you back to your Cleveland days? Are you liking this cold that we're getting out here on this trip?
Did you see the comment? Heck yeah, 03 says Dante sounds cold. Is that
do I sound like I have a cold or do I sound cold? Because I am freezing and I have not been able to get this chill out of me, Jake, since we got here. This is unbelievable.
It was when we arrived in Canada, I said, okay, this is the stuff that I remember. Because when you get that lake effect, sleet and frozen, whipping snow smacking you in the face as soon as you step off the plane, that's Cleveland. That's Cleveland in December. That is what I grew up with. So, no, I will say this. It's sunny in Indianapolis today. But, boy, when we got in last night, it was quiet. it was blustery and it was dark when we pulled
Yes, it
into
was.
town
Yes,
last
it
night.
was.
And it never helps when you come off a tough loss and then you fly from one freezing place to another. I am already picking up on the fact and nobody was in a great mood when we got on the bus last night.
No, that was probably pretty accurate. You know what I like about this? Hey, David Magic Hugo. Good morning, Magic. Where is Kendra? Kendra has not one time ever been on this chat with us, but I like that. But thank you for checking in, and thank you for your awareness on that. But we can see, I've not been out there to find her, but I'll do what I can. She typically does her own thing, and that's fine. And so I really don't know what she's up to today, but I'll see if I can get some info.
Newberry
Thursday.
Okay,
Thursday.
Okay, all right.
So Thursday she'll be doing her live stream.
So keep the window open until that.
Yeah. Oh no! So Will Dawson says, Jake, you're going to miss the Stranger Things finale. So this is Will Dawson's day, right? He gets off of he does our live stream, does this. Then for New Year's Eve, he's got the Cheez-It Bowl and Stranger Things. Gosh, it's good to be Will Dawson. You're going to miss the finale of Stranger Things, Jake.
That's scheduled for New Year's Eve. Is that what they're doing? I don't know.
Not.
I've never watched it. I tried
what
the first couple episodes of that show a couple of years ago, and I didn't get too into it.
Oh, I thought that was a little inside baseball. So I thought he knew you were into it. You're not into Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Okay, no. I got you.
Sorry to disappoint you, Will. Sorry.
Fair enough. I want to talk about Anthony Black, Jake. He came into that game last night averaging 24 points per game his last 6. But if you go back a span of 14 games, averaging 19 points per game. And what does he do last night? He pours in 27. This is his follow-up to his career-high 38 in Denver. In Denver, he was unbelievable. Not only the 38 points, but the defensive plays down the stretch. He steals it from Jokic, goes down and gets a dunk. And then he almost stole it from Jamal Murray twice on that final 6-second drive by Jamal Murray. So his defense, you know what you're going to get defensively out of him. But for Anthony Black, 32 points last night, 32 minutes, 27 points. He gets you 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal as well. And I think, listen, yes, it's phenomenal what he's doing right now, but I put myself in a place of Franz is going to come back, Jalen Suggs is going to come back, and this guy might be moving to the bench, in which he'll be contending for 6th man of the year, or you may find a way to have him in the starting lineup. I don't know how you do that. Injuries, he may be back in and out of the starting lineup, but what does Anthony Black look like at the end of a game with Jalen Suggs, with Franz Wagner, with Paolo Banchero, right?
Well, I think it's a good point too, because one thing that you think about moving forward is, at the very least, like we know how important Jalen Suggs is to this team. Just look at the net rating numbers, the defensive rating numbers. When he's on the floor, we are significantly better. Maybe Anthony Black's emergence and the acquisition of Desmond Bane gives you not Jalen insurance, but the ability to scale back his minutes a little bit. I'm not talking about pulling him out of the starting lineup, but maybe you can just be a little bit more cautionary over the course of the remainder of the season, just to try to preserve him a little bit. That's a word you used yesterday.
Yep.
We know when Jalen is on the floor, there's one speed that he plays at. So maybe the answer is keeping him off the floor just a tiny bit more and just saving him from himself a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm sure that Jalen will be in the starting lineup and he'll be playing a full dosage of minutes very soon whenever he does make his return. But Anthony Black's emergence, I don't think you can understate how important it is to the depth of the team. Obviously, if you end up sliding him to the bench, you need him on the floor for something like 30 minutes a night. Like, I don't know how you drop him down to 22 minutes a night if he's coming off the bench. So at the very least, as you're scaling Jalen back in and maybe keeping an eye on his minutes, same with Franz and Paolo, the bottom line is Anthony Black can play and guard 3 positions, sometimes 4, and he's only growing in that role. I mean, this isn't like he's had a couple good weeks. This is him showing us and lifting what the ceiling of his impact can be. And so I think he's, nobody has taken the early part of the season and the opportunities given to him and run with them any more than Anthony Black has. Certainly not on this team, but maybe even across the league. That's why you're hearing stuff like most improved and conversations in that vein, which, again, when you start to get healthy, what do those numbers look like? I'm not exactly sure, but we said about a month ago, Coach Mosley can't keep this guy off the floor right now, especially in crunch time. he's just been such an impactful player. He always brings it defensively, but now that his offensive numbers
Yeah.
are starting to catch up, these, month of December, 19 points, 6 rebounds, 4.5 assists. Those are like Desmond Bane numbers. I mean,
yes, right.
He's been outstanding, and he's shooting 36% from three as well.
So it was start or come off the bench. He's going to get the minutes. He's going to get 30 minutes, and he's probably going to be out there at the end of games, right? Because you love him on the defensive end anyway. You're going to find a way to make that work, but he's just been so good. And in just year 3, right? He doesn't turn 22 for another couple of weeks, and it's remarkable what you've been getting out of Anthony Black. And you got a couple of comments here where Will Dawson loves the Suggs point. Do you try to kind of, like we said yesterday, and like you just pointed out, do you try to keep him from himself until he's back fully comfortable, right? Until he gets back and those minutes are out. I don't think you'll do that, but because Anthony Black has played so well, you got to give the group something to think about, and I think that's all that you can do. Since Jalen is doubtful lately instead of out, do we think we see him back sometime this week? And that could be. I think I'll find the lost city of Atlantis before I find that answer. But I do think there is a possibility when you start making because you got to go to that, you got to go to doubtful, then you got to do this, and then you got to be questionable. And there is a system and a format to it. But it does once you start changing the designations, yes, it does feel like it could be close. So hopefully, because if you can get him back, I think that's going to be huge, obviously. And then, we'll see what the rotations look like here moving forward. And then, Jake, I'll ask this to you, and then we can kind of close it out. But this comes from JJ131. Why do the Magic struggle holding fourth quarter leads? And I think that's something that we saw last night. And, I got to make shots. I mean, unfortunately, you still go through stretches where not only do you take bad shots, but you just go through stretches where you can't string enough buckets together. And to just get 12 points, I think it's tough. You're still learning to win. You're on the road, hostile environment. But, last night to me was just a situation where you got outworked. That team wanted it more. And that's not typically the case. Typically, the Magic are the group that shows up and outworks you. That didn't happen. But, it's tough to say because you didn't have a fourth quarter lead against Denver and you came back and beat them. You did have a fourth quarter lead last night and just couldn't get anything going offensively. So it's kind of different every time. But I still think you need your full complement to be as effective as you can be.
Yeah, I think it's a lot easier to close out games when you got fourth quarter Franz in uniform. I'll say that when you've got arguably your best perimeter defender as well. But with that said, and I don't think it's necessarily a repeat issue or a problem that needs to be addressed immediately, because like you said, there have been games where we closed out teams, there have been games where we come back in the fourth quarter, but typically our problems when we score 12 points in a quarter and when the offense stalls out is the ball movement stops. And a lot of times it is because we're not as good a perimeter jump shooting team, can't just shoot over a packed paint. And then all of a sudden it's about that inside out action. It's about getting the paint touches. It's about moving the ball. It's about moving bodies. And at times I think I stand around and watch. And at times one guy gets the ball and he goes, and it's my turn now. Toronto Raptors team, I think, shows you how to move the ball efficiently, both in transition and in the half court. And how to generate good looks when you're going against a good defensive team. We're still getting there. And I think, again, like you said, it helps when you have your full complement of players. But I think it's a fair point. Like when our offense stalls out, it's typically because the ball stops moving. And that is something that I'm sure Coach Mosley and the staff is trying to fix. I do think, look, missing Desmond Bane in crunch time, Jonathan Isaac, a late scratch, you're getting Goga back. At some point, it's like we just need some stability as far as who's available and as far as the rotations go. It's not an excuse, but it is frustrating right now where it's like, okay, wait, who are we missing again today? That puts a little bit of a, okay, well, I got to adjust this as far as the game plan goes. Jamal Cain getting spot minutes last night. I thought he did his job. But when you're trying to figure out what a set rotation looks like and it feels like you lose somebody every other day, I think that can be really frustrating and difficult as well.
It's a game you had to find a way to close out, though. At the end of the day, you had to find a way to close it out, and you didn't. Some good signs headed that way with Paolo and Anthony Black, but you didn't get a ton of help elsewhere, and you got to find a way to close these things out. That's a team that you could be battling for a position in the Eastern Conference. You only play them 3 times, and that game was yours to be had, and now you're 1 game away from winning the season series, and that one got away from you last night. So now you set your sights on the Indiana Pacers. You're 18-15. And you got to try to keep pace here in the Eastern Conference. And listen, Jake, I think we have always thought when you come back from this Berlin trip, right? So you got 2 more games on this trip, home for a game, a 2-game road trip, and then a 2-game homestand, and then you go out to Berlin and London. When you come back from that, I think then it's game on. Then it's like, okay, you got to be fully healthy. You got to get your rest, and you got to put the league on notice for the second half of the season. And that's kind of my target date. But in the meantime, you can't be giving up games. I get that. I totally get that. And that's what made that frustrating last night. But plenty of time to right the ship, and it starts tomorrow against the Indiana Pacers. We'll have it for you 2:30 right here on 96.9 The Game and 2:30 on FanDuel Sports Network. Hang in there, Magic fans. They're going to get this thing figured out. Go out and get a win tomorrow against the Indiana Pacers. Oh, here we go. Real quick before we get out of here, Jake. Do you have a New Year's resolution? Will Dawson wants your New Year's resolution for 2026.
Mine or the team? I thought it might be nice if we did New Year's resolutions for the team, but you and I didn't do a production meeting this morning, so we did not.
Let's do it for the team. No, we didn't see that. Let's do it for the team. Do you have a New Year's resolution for the team?
Yeah, rebound better. or at least after last night, that's what I want to see. I have not been happy with the rebounding in the month of December. It has been spotty. So yeah, we are a complete team when we clean up the glass, or at least that is such an important foundational piece to what we do. So my New Year's resolution is going to be to eat better on game nights.
Ooh, gotcha. You didn't eat anything last night. I think you're.
I ate. I just ate every bag of snacks that I could get my hands on between the airplane and the bus. I got back. By the way, this is completely off the rails. I watched the Knives Out movie last night. You ever watch those? It's the new one on Netflix. It's a murder mystery, but it's kind of a series, and it's funny. It was very good. I was locked in on that. It's part of the reason I'm so tired this morning. I couldn't stop watching it when I got in last night. But peanut butter pretzel nuggets, those I always snatch those up on the plane. I was hammering those, and that to me is what I need. I need to try to eat peanut butter pretzel nuggets after a game rather than a sub from a gas station with melted cheese and whatever.
Yes.
I'm going to try to go more dry. Less saturated fats and oils and all that stuff late night after game.
I like that. I'll join you on that. My personal New Year's resolution is to read. I want to read a book at some point in my life. I want to sit down and read I want to read an entire book from the start to the finish.
You need
we sit on these.
You know how to do that.
Do you know how to do that? I don't find anything on earth less interesting. But I got to do that. There's a lot of people that read word books, and I don't do it. I need to do that.
Here's a tip, because I think you're probably like me. I can't read fiction. I can't get into just a story.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I want it in movie or in show form. Find
especially
a good nonfiction book,
especially with dragons and all.
Find a band. The last book I read was about Creedence Clearwater Revival. like find a band or a team or something that you like.
Okay, I got you.
76 Red Sox. Find whatever. Find something a nonfiction thing that you're locked into and give it a spin.
Well, and that's good advice. And for this team, I want health. I'm with you. I want health, and we got to figure this out. Health, rebounding, and I want top 4 in the East. That's what I want. We'll see. If
Dewberry's resolution is wrap it up. That's Dewberry's.
Wrap it up. That'll do it for this edition of Magic Insiders. Have a great night, everybody. No more Magic Insiders the rest of this week. We're back next Monday, and we'll have that for you on 96.9 The Game. Happy New Year, everybody. Have a great day tomorrow.